In a galaxy where powerful alien empires ruled, the Zorvathians were feared the most. Their technology was unmatched. Their ships floated like gods, and their unbreakable shields were said to be impossible to crack. No force, no weapon, no laser had ever damaged them. When the Zorvathians arrived on Earth, they did not come to make peace. Their leader, a towering figure known as Lord Xerx, floated above Earth's skies and laughed at humanity. "You are small, weak, and fragile. We are the Zorvathians. Bow before us." Earth's armies tried everything. Missiles exploded against the shields but left no mark. Lasers bounced off as if the shields were laughing back. Humanity's strongest weapons were useless. The Zorvathians placed their giant shielded ships over the world's cities, threatening to take over. Most people gave up hope. But not Tom Grady. Tom was not a soldier. He wasn't a scientist or a general. He was just a simple construction worker, the kind of guy who fixed roads, built houses, and didn't talk much. He worked with big machines every day, and his favorite tool was his demolition hammer. It was massive, heavy, and loud use to break through concrete and stone. When Tom heard that humanity had no chance, he scratched his head and muttered to himself, "If nothing works, maybe we're just not hitting hard enough." Tom lived in a small town. The shielded alien ships floated nearby, glowing like a second sun in the sky. People in his town were hiding in bunkers, scared and hopeless. Tom walked to his shed, grabbed his demolition hammer, and stared at it. He smiled. "Let's give it a shot." The Plantum drove to the edge of the city in his old, noisy truck. In the back, his demolition hammer lay strapped in place. People watched him drive by, shaking their head. "Where does he think he's going?" they whispered. When Tom reached the alien shield near the city's edge, he stopped. The ship was massive, as tall as a mountain, and covered in a shimmering blue shield. Zorvathian soldiers hovered around, confident that no one could harm them. Tom climbed out of the truck and dragged his hammer with him. It was heavy, but he had used it for years. His hands were calloused, his arms strong. A Zorvathian soldier spotted him and laughed. "What are you doing, little human?" "That shield is unbreakable." Tom shrugged. "Guess we'll see." He walked up to the glowing edge of the shield. It hummed softly, like energy vibrating through the air. Tom swung the hammer onto his shoulder, took a deep breath, and swung with all his might. Boom! The hammer struck the shield with a sound like thunder. Energy ripples spread out, shocking even the Zorvathian soldier. Nothing seemed to happen at first. The soldier smirked. "Fool! You cannot." Then they both saw it, a small crack. Tiny, like a hairline fracture in glass, but it was there. The soldier's smile vanished. That's impossible." Tom grinned. "Looks like it ain't so unbreakable after all." One swing at a time word spread quickly. Tom Grady, the construction worker, had cracked the Zorvathian shield, something no advanced weapon had managed to do. Scientists rushed to investigate. "The shield is vibrating," they said. "It's not made to withstand raw physical force." Tom didn't care about the science. He just grabbed his hammer again. "Well, let's keep hitting it then." Over the next few days, people joined him. Workers brought sledgehammers and tools. Mechanics built bigger hammers powered by machines. Soldiers came with exosuits to swing with more strength. Humanity turned into a giant hammer-wielding force. And with each hit, boom, 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 the cracks grew. Lord Xerx, watching from his ship, was furious. "How is this happening? Shields cannot be broken." But he was wrong. Tom and his team worked day and night, smashing against the shield. For the first time, the aliens felt fear. The final swing, after a week of relentless hammering, the shield over Tom's city was covered in cracks. It shimmered and wobbled, no longer perfect. Tom stood before it, his hammer on his shoulder. A crowd gathered behind him, workers, soldiers, scientists, even children. Humanity watched as one of their own faced the alien shield. Tom looked up at the sky and said, "This is for Earth." With every ounce of strength he had, he swung the hammer one final time. CRAA, Sage. The shield shattered like glass, exploding into 1,000 shards of light. The alien ship, exposed for the first time, began to fall. The crowd erupted in cheers. Across the world, others took up their hammers, inspired by Tom. Shield after shield began to crack and fall. A new legend, the Zorvathians retreated, unable to stop humanity's raw determination. Lord Xerix hissed, "How did you defeat us with such primitive tools?" Tom shrugged and said, "Sometimes all you need is a hammer and a little hard work." Tom became a hero, though he never wanted fame. People called him the man who broke the unbreakable. Statues were built of him holding his hammer, a symbol of hope. And so, the aliens learned a lesson: never underestimate humans. They might not have the strongest weapons, but they have the strongest spirit. The Zarkons were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. For centuries, they had conquered planets without resistance. Their secret? The Zarkonian energy shields, impenetrable barriers that no weapon, no laser, no bomb could destroy. These shields covered their cities, ships, and soldiers, making them invincible. When the Zarkons set their eyes on Earth, they were confident. "The humans will fall in days," said Commander Threx, leader of the Zarkon fleet. "They are weak. Their weapons are primitive." The invasion began. Massive Zarkon ships appeared in Earth's skies, their glowing shields shimmering like blue fire. Missiles, bombs, and bullets were fired, but nothing worked. Every weapon bounced harmlessly off the shields. Cities fell one by one. Earth's leaders surrendered. Hope was lost. But hope often comes from unexpected places. Meet Daniel. The builder Daniel Granger was not a hero. He was not a soldier or a scientist. He was a simple builder, the kind of guy who spent his days fixing roads, breaking concrete, and repairing bridges. He worked with machines, tools, and his hands, things most people ignored. When the Zarkons took over Daniel's city, people hid in fear. The alien shields surrounded every building, every street, making it impossible to fight back. Daniel's friends looked at the skies and sighed. "We can't win," they said. But Daniel stared at the shields and muttered, "Nothing is unbreakable. Everything has a weak spot." His words were ignored. What can a builder do against aliens with shields? They laughed. But Daniel didn't care. He had an idea. And ideas are dangerous things when they belong to someone who doesn't give up. The plan. Daniel went to his workshop. He looked at his tools, his machines, and his old blueprints. For years, he had worked with impact hammers, heavy machines used to break rocks, concrete, and steel. If I can break concrete, Daniel thought, I can break a shield. He worked for days, combining parts of old machines, engines, and tools. Finally, he built something new, a massive impact hammer. It was powered by hydraulic force and kinetic energy, capable of delivering the strongest physical strike ever made. Daniel's friends were worried. "Daniel, this is crazy." "Those shields can't be broken." Daniel grinned. "Let's find out." The first crack early in the morning, Daniel loaded his impact hammer onto a rusty old truck. He drove straight toward the Zarkon command ship, hovering over the city square. People peeked from windows, watching the lone truck rumble through empty streets. The Zarkon soldiers laughed when they saw him. "What is this human doing?" one alien asked. Commander Threx sneered. "Let him try. It will be amusing." Daniel stopped the truck in front of the giant shield. He climbed out, put on his hard hat, and rolled his shoulders. "Time to get to work," he said. He dragged the impact hammer toward the shimmering shield. It glowed with energy, humming like a giant electric wall. Daniel ignored the noise, set the hammer's base on the ground, and activated the machine. The hammer powered up, its engine roaring to life. Daniel gripped the controls tightly, aimed at the shield, and pulled the lever. Boom! The hammer struck the shield with a force so strong, it shook the ground. The noise echoed through the city like thunder. For a moment, nothing happened. The Zarkons laughed. But then, a sound came. Crack. A tiny crack appeared on the shield, like a scratch on glass. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there. Commander Threx's smile disappeared. What? Daniel grinned and shouted. Told you? Nothing's unbreakable. Breaking the shield word spread quickly. Daniel cracked the shield. People whispered. Hope began to return to the city. Scientists, soldiers, and builders gathered around him. How did you do it? They asked. It's simple, Daniel said. The shield absorbs energy, but it can't handle raw physical impact. Hit it hard enough, and it breaks. The humans worked together. Engineers built more hammers based on Daniel's design. Mechanics installed them on trucks, tanks, and machines. Soldiers practiced using the hammers. It was the start of a new kind of fight, a fight with tools, machines, and human determination. The final battle, the Zarkons were angry. Commander Threx ordered all ships to destroy the city. Wipe them out, he roared. But the humans were ready. Daniel led the charge, driving his hammer-powered truck straight toward the largest Zarkon ship. Behind him, dozens of others followed, their hammers ready. Fire! Threx screamed. Lasers rained down, but the humans kept moving. Daniel reached the shield first. Let's finish this, he yelled. He activated the hammer. Boom! 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 Each strike hit harder than the last. Cracks spread across the shield like spiderwebs. The Zarkon ship trembled as its defenses failed. With one final blow, Daniel's hammer shattered the shield into pieces. The ship, now defenseless, crashed to the ground. The crowd erupted in cheers. Around the world, other cities used Daniel's design to break more shields. One by one, the Zarkons fell. The shield breaker, the Zarkons retreated, their unbreakable shields destroyed by human hands. Commander Threx, humiliated, looked at Earth one last time and said, How did this happen? You are just builders and workers. Daniel, standing on the wreckage of a Zarkon ship, wiped sweat from his brow and smiled. You underestimated us. Sometimes, all you need is a hammer and a lot of heart. Daniel became known as the Shield Breaker, the man who gave humanity hope. Statues were built in his honor, a reminder that even the strongest enemies can fall when humans refuse to give up. And so, the galaxy learned a simple truth. Never underestimate a human with a tool in his hand and a fire in his heart. The world was silent. Cities once filled with life now lay empty and broken. Skies once blue were darkened by massive alien ships, their glowing shields spreading across Earth like a cage. The Therox Empire had conquered countless planets, and now it was humanity's turn. The Therox shields were impenetrable. Missiles, lasers, bombs, everything failed. Earth's greatest scientists worked day and night but found no answers. We cannot win, world leaders whispered. Their shields are too strong. The Therox commander, Vorak, broadcast his message across the Earth. His deep voice echoed from every screen and speaker. Humans, your time is over. Surrender, or be crushed beneath our power. Many people gave up. Some hid underground, while others sat in silence, waiting for the end. But not everyone died in a quiet village, far from the ruined cities. There was a man named Jack Connors. Jack was no soldier or genius scientist. He was an old blacksmith, a man who had spent his life shaping metal with fire, hammer, and sweat. When Jack heard about the Therox shields, he sat by his forge, staring into the flames. Everything breaks eventually, he muttered. You just need to hit it hard enough. The idea Jack's grandson, Tommy, was the first to ask, Grandpa, what can we do? The aliens are winning. Jack looked at Tommy, then at the tools in his forge. He picked up his old sledgehammer, its surface worn smooth by years of work. Tommy, when something can't be cut or burned, you smash it. That's what we're gonna do. Tommy blinked. Smash the shields? But how? Jack grinned, the firelight dancing in his eyes. We'll make something bigger. Stronger. A hammer that could swing harder than anything Earth's ever seen. Building the hammer, Jack gathered workers from the village blacksmiths, welders, and mechanics. He explained his plan. The aliens' shields are made to stop energy, not physical force. If we hit them hard enough, fast enough, we might crack them. Some laughed. How can a hammer stop aliens with shields? Jack replied. Everything has a weak spot. We just need to find it. For days, the forge roared with fire. Sparks flew as metal was hammered, shaped, and molded. Jack and his team built a colossal hammer, a weapon taller than a house, powered by hydraulics and steam engines. Its head weighed several tons, and its base was mounted on an old mining truck. They called it the Titan Hammer. The first strike, the nearest alien ship, hovered above the capital city, its shield shimmering like a blue dome of energy. The humans had tried everything to destroy it, but nothing worked. Jack and his team drove the Titan Hammer toward the city. The massive hammer sat on the back of the truck, rumbling with power. People watched as the old blacksmith led his team through the broken streets. Where are they going? Someone asked. To fight back, Tommy answered proudly. When they reached the edge of the alien shield, Jack climbed onto the truck and grabbed a microphone. His voice echoed through the streets. This is for Earth, he shouted. Let's show them what humans can do. The workers activated the hammer's engines. Gears turned, steam hissed, and the hammer began to swing. Boom. The first strike hit the shield like a thunderclap. The ground shook, and the shield rippled like water. For a moment, nothing happened. The Ferox soldiers inside the ship laughed. Pathetic humans, one of them sneered. Jack's team didn't stop. They swung the hammer again. Boom. Boom. With each strike, the ripples grew larger. Energy crackled across the shield's surface. Then, after the fourth hit, a sound came. Crack. A thin, glowing line appeared on the shield. The crowd watching gasped. It's working, Tommy shouted. Humanity's last swing inside the alien ship. Commander Vorak stared at the shield's readings. Impossible. No one can break a Ferox shield. But outside, Jack and his team prepared for one final swing. The hammer's engines roared as it pulled back, ready to strike with all its power. Jack gripped the controls, sweat dripping from his brow. Let's finish this, he yelled. The hammer swung forward, faster and harder than before. The entire city seemed to hold its breath as the hammer crashed into the shield. Boom. The shield shattered. The sound was like glass breaking, only louder. Pieces of the shield fell like shards of light, disappearing into the air. For the first time, the alien ship was exposed. The crowd erupted in cheers. They did it, someone shouted. Jack climbed down from the truck, his hands shaking. He looked up at the alien ship, now vulnerable. Earth's remaining forces saw their chance. Jets, tanks, and soldiers attacked the ship, bringing it crashing to the ground. The turning point news of the broken shield spread across the world. Other blacksmiths, engineers, and builders copied Jack's design, creating their own Titan hammers. Cities began to fight back. One by one, the Ferox shields fell. Commander Vorak, watching his empire crumble, growled in fury. How did these humans defeat us? But he already knew the answer. Humans were stubborn. They never gave up. The legend of the last swing when the war ended, Earth stood victorious. Jack Connors became a legend, known as the Shield Breaker. Statues of him and the Titan Hammer were built across cities, a symbol of humanity's spirit. People told his story for generations, how an old blacksmith and his hammer changed the fate of the world. Jack's words became famous. Sometimes, all it takes is one good swing. For centuries, the Varnak Empire ruled the stars with an iron fist. They had technology so advanced, no planet could resist them. Their ships were enormous, their armies endless, and their greatest weapon was their infinity shield and energy barrier that made their fleets untouchable. World after world surrendered without a fight. The Varnak believed no one could stand against them. Then they came to Earth. The leader of the Varnak invasion, High Commander Vexen, gave Earth a simple choice. Surrender your planet, Vexen declared, his voice booming across every screen, or be destroyed. The nations of Earth united, sending missiles, lasers, and bombs. But the Infinity Shield absorbed everything. Humanity's strongest weapons failed. "We are finished," world leaders whispered, but they were wrong. For hope often comes from the most unexpected places. The ordinary man in a dusty corner of a scrapyard in Texas. There was a man named Henry Tate. Henry was no hero. He was a mechanic, a man who fixed tractors, engines, and old cars. His hands were always covered in grease, and he loved machines more than anything. When Henry heard about the Varnac shields, he scratched his head and said, "If it's built, it can break. You just need the right tool." People laughed. "Henry, the smartest people in the world can't break the shields. What can you do?" Henry didn't answer. He simply looked at an old, rusted sledgehammer leaning against the wall of his workshop. It had been his father's before him. Henry picked it up, holding its worn wooden handle. "A hammer can fix things," Henry muttered, "and it can break things too." The idea. Henry had a theory. The Varnac Infinity Shields were designed to stop energy weapons like lasers and bombs. But maybe, just maybe, the shields weren't built to stop raw physical force. "Sometimes, you don't need fancy weapons," Henry told his friend Jim, who worked with him in the yard. "Sometimes, you just need to swing hard enough." Jim laughed. "You can't fight aliens with a hammer, Henry." Henry didn't listen. He began building. He combined the hammer's head with parts from engines, hydraulic systems, and old construction machines. After days of work, Henry had created something new, a massive machine with one purpose: to deliver the hardest physical strike in history. He called it the Titan Swinger. "It's just a big hammer," Jim said. Henry grinned. "Sometimes, a hammer is all you need." The Challenger's largest Varnac ship, the Starbreaker, hovered over Washington, D.C., its infinity shield glowing like a dome of blue light. The Varnac soldiers mocked the humans below. "They are helpless," Commander Vexen laughed. But on a quiet morning, Henry's old pickup truck appeared on the empty streets, carrying the Titan Swinger. It was a crude, clunky machine, metal plates bolted together, hydraulic arms shaking with power. Henry drove right toward the ship, his hammer ready. People watched from hiding, whispering, "What is he doing?" Varnac soldiers looked down, confused. "Is that a human machine?" Commander Vexen sneered. "A toy will not break my shield. Destroy him." Lasers shot from the ship, but Henry swerved the truck left and right, dodging the blasts. He parked right at the edge of the shield. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady as he climbed into the Titan Swinger's cockpit. "All right, big guy," Henry said to the machine. "Let's show them what humans can do." The first swing, Henry activated the machine. The engines roared to life, steam hissing, gears grinding. The Titan Swinger's hydraulic arm pulled the hammer back, ready to strike. Inside the alien ship, Vexen watched, annoyed. "What does this fool think he's doing?" Henry swung the hammer. Boom. The sound was deafening. The hammer struck the infinity shield with incredible force. The shield rippled like water, glowing brighter for a moment, but it held. Vexen laughed. Pathetic. Henry didn't stop. He pulled the lever again. The hammer swung. Boom. Boom. Each strike was harder than the last. The shield rippled violently, flashes of light sparking across its surface. Then, after the fifth swing, a sound echoed through the city. Crack. A thin fracture appeared in the shield, like a crack on glass. Henry grinned. "Gotcha." "Impossible." "Stop him." Lasers fired at the Titan Swinger, but Henry kept swinging. The machine shook under the blasts, sparks flying, metal groaning, but Henry didn't stop. With every strike, the crack grew larger. The shield flickered. Henry pulled the lever for the final swing. The hammer rose high, then crashed down with the force of a meteor. Boom. The infinity shield shattered into a million shards of light. The Starbreaker ship, now unprotected, wobbled in the air. Earth's remaining forces saw their chance. Fighter jets fired missiles, tanks shot rounds, and the massive ship exploded in a ball of flame. The crowd watching erupted in cheers. The day the universe changed, news of Henry's success spread quickly. The Varnak shields, once thought unbeatable, had a weakness: physical force. Humanity built more Titan swingers, and one by one, the Varnak ships fell. The invincible empire had been defeated by a man with a hammer. High Commander Vexen, watching his fleet crumble, whispered, "How could this happen?" The answer was simple: humans never give up. The legend Henry Tate became a legend across Earth and beyond. Statues of him and his hammer were built in cities, and people remembered his words: "Sometimes, all you need is a hammer and the will to swing it." That day, the universe learned a lesson: even the strongest enemy can be broken if you dare to take the first swing. And so, the hammer that once fixed engines became the hammer that saved a planet and changed the universe forever.